So, NAMM kinda sucks. Well, I guess it doesn't fully suck, but it is just a lot, and it's loud. What if it could sound like this? And better yet, what if you could control this lovely ambient version of NAMM? So yes, I turned NAMM into a virtual instrument. If you've been following the shenanigans of this channel lately, I'm sure you wouldn't be surprised that I'm putting together another sample library, and as always, it'll be free on Piano Book. But NAMM, how exactly would one go about sampling that? Well, let me go through the why first. I mentioned it was loud earlier, and I just could not get over that while I was there. It's a convention for sound, music, and networking that just crushes your ears and makes it really difficult to have a conversation. A simply wild combination, if you ask me. Yet, it's adjacent to the way that we all ought to think about traffic. It's that phrase, you're not in traffic, you are traffic. So all of this noise at NAMM is cacophonous, but its constituent parts, in most cases, are just individuals playing music. Notwithstanding the very obviously self-congratulatory playing and talking, there is a lot of passion being jettisoned out into this convention center. I thought it would be cool to record heaps of this common joy over music and see if I could force it to sound and feel like the big picture. Something like what a lot of astronauts have reported upon returning to Earth, like looking down at all these struggles and horrors of humanity from the moon. So again, how does one do this? While at NAMM, I had a certain framework and expectation for what I wanted to capture. I wanted ambience and noise. I wanted fairly pure notes from as wide an instrument range as I could get. And I wanted some scattered atonal stuff, namely like cymbals and percussion. The need for pure notes put me in a position where I had to kind of just swallow my introversion, walk up to people, and give the very bizarre request to have just the same note played a couple of different ways over and over. And then I would give the whole spiel about how I'm trying to put this into a free sample library of sounds from NAMM. Most people were pretty amiable, and some even seemed to get really excited about this, though they may have just been being polite. Let's finally give this instrument a proper walkthrough, and then while I'm doing that, maybe I'll kind of revisit and call out different instrumentalists and memories and recordings that you're hearing most at any given time. All right, here's our instrument, NAMMbience. Out of the box, it sounds like this. But we've got a lot of controls and there are a lot of options built in here. I'll just start at the top and we'll go left to right through them. Atonal, low, and high. We just listened to our low. You'll hear that it's just this kind of thundering bed. That rumbling, of course, was achieved on the drum floor of NAMM. I recorded at 96K, so I was able to pitch these down quite a lot. Take away all the high end, and you've got a bed of sound. Speaking of high, that's just an entire module of just cymbals and 5 or 6 different people thrashing upon them at will. So you have a little bit of a mix of a roar from that and some detail from the individual people that I talked to. Next are the tonal knobs. Pretty self-explanatory. We have short stuff. There were some people playing xylophones. There was a glockenspiel, the little hand percussion like tongue drums and hong drums. A whole mixture. Thankfully, piercing high stuff as well as very short tonal transients. You can sort of cheat. You can get the main part of the transient and then cut the tail off where all the noise is and basically replace that with some clever reverb blending. I did that quite a bit, especially for the tubular bells that are down here in the bottom range. I was actually the one that played the tubular bells. Let me just say that the timing was very bad. It seemed like everyone wanted to test out the Yamaha snares that were right behind me when I was recording these. So I grabbed just the bit of the bell that I needed, and then reverb saved the day. Long stuff, beautifully complicated. Listen to this. That's a pretty broad combination of things. There's a lot of brass, there is a lot of guitar playing, bass playing. Specifically, I wanted to focus in, there were a couple of trombone players that were kind enough to give me these isolated notes. And we have a little bend, a little slur kind of up into the note. And I've mapped that to the higher velocity range. If you were to play just medium to soft, you can hear there's a horn player in there. I think there's a saxophone blended in, and a little bit of trombone. But then if you were to play that note quite hard, this instrument's full of little tricks like this. I'm trying to get as much mileage out of the dirtiest samples I think I've ever worked with, and I'm quite happy with the result. And uncovering these little Easter eggs as you play, I think, is a pretty fun element to this instrument. Okay, this little sub knob is someone playing a bunch of erratic notes on a tom drum, but I was able to process it so that it sounds like a pretty gnarly synthesizer. Listen to this. That is truly percussion originally. And I also want to reiterate, everything in this library, everything was recorded at NAMM on the day with a little Zoom H4n. Okay, let's turn all of the tonal, atonal, everything's gone. But now if I were to just play and use the mod wheel, all right, so what were you hearing there? There's some sparkling guitar playing, synthesizer textures. You're also hearing a cellist playing a couple of sustained notes for me. And then you're also hearing some like clattering sounds. And that is a wall of metronomes. It was dizzying, to say the least. It makes for some really good burbly ear candy. These sounds I've left separate from the atonal and tonal knobs, just so that you have kind of another route for blending things. I found that it adds quite a lot of depth. Noise 1 is just NAMM. Yes, pretty self-explanatory. Maybe not the most useful part of this library, but how could I not include that? Noise 2, however, is a processed version of Noise 1 in that it is just NAMM, but it has a bunch of filters applied, and using the mod wheel allows you to kind of open and close the filter. That essentially sounds like a sort of a living wind of some kind. It's very much a white noise, but it has just a little bit of kind of modulation and weirdness to it, because there are some voices that are trying to poke through. Now let's get to the PAD-IFIER, because I don't think I really need to mention the high pass and low pass filter. Everything's back at neutral. PAD-IFIER engaged. Otherwise, that would have sounded like this. And that's still quite ambient and pad-like. But again, with the PAD-IFIER engaged, a whole different story. And I think that about does it. I also really hope that you are one of the instrumentalists that I had to bother at the convention, and that you're seeing the fruits of your labor here, and you find it worthwhile, that you took the time to play a couple of random notes for me. Really, really appreciate that. As you can hear, it made the library, right? Without those isolated notes, the shorts and longs would have not happened. The rest of it is truly noise. So thank you, thank you. So, as I mentioned earlier, this library is going to be completely free over on Piano Book, and this one more than any I think feels very at home in the hands of the community. If you dig this library and what I do, or you just want to compensate me for my NAMM-induced hearing loss, I have a Ko-Fi. It'll be linked below, and it's also handily linked over on my Piano Book page. I know that weird little plugs like this at the end of videos are a tired lot, but the tips have tangibly helped me. I've been blindsided by my share of personal challenges lately, and navigating that has been softened noticeably by your support. I don't really know what else to say other than just know that it's very much appreciated. As always, take care of yourself and enjoy the library.